Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 Premiere Pro features that I use every day. Now, some of these might be new to you, others might not be, but maybe it's a good reminder to keep using them. So the first one that I'm going to get into is the Ken Burns effect. So Ken Burns is a well-known documentarian, and he uses this punch-in, digital punch-in on a lot of the still photographs that he uses in his documentaries. So what do I mean by that? So because I use the GH5 a lot, and we all know it's got the autofocus of a brick, there's no way that I can zoom and then also keep focus at the same time, especially with photographic lenses, as they are not parfocal. So parfocal essentially is just if you've got a cinema lens, as you zoom, the focus maintains, whereas on these still lenses, they tend to breathe because obviously you're also focusing every time when you're taking a photo. So for example, I've got this clip, and in itself, it's not a bad clip. It's got some action going on in the background. But what I want to do is give a nice Ken Burns effect to this. So what I'm going to do is go up to the motion tab, and I'm going to put a keyframe into scale. So I've got the first keyframe there, and then what I'm going to do is just go to the end of the clip, back one, and make sure I'm selected on that clip. And then I'm just going to pop another keyframe in there, and I'm just going to do 103. I don't want to zoom in too much because I think it just looks a bit shit if I'm honest. So what I'm going to do is just take you back to that, and then we're just going to do a slow punch in like that. And so that leads nicely into that next clip as well, which you can see I've done it. So if you don't want to have to do this every time, what you can do is come up to motion here, right click, save preset, and you can just name it as, what I will do is tend to do like Ken Burns 3% or Ken Burns 4%, depending on how much. And you want to make sure it's set to scale so that if you're trying it on a 4K clip or a 1080p clip, it will do that as well. I've already created that, so I'm just going to cancel that out. So that's the first feature I use. Really handy if you want to add like a still shot. Say for example, you didn't get enough B-roll and you want to chuck in a photo, then the Ken Burns effect is wicked for that. So these next couple of features are something that I use for podcast editing quite a lot. So as you may know, watching these videos, I edit a podcast quite regularly, and I have a few tips to speed that up. So the first one is auto scene cut detection. And so what I mean by that, for example, I've got this Zoom clip, and you can see it cuts back and forth from the speakers. And so what I want to do is clip this up, because actually the host recorded his own footage. So if I show you here, which is much better than his Zoom option. So what I'm going to do is I need to clip up the main speaker from the host, then that way I can just remove the Zoom footage from the speaker. So what you need to do, select your clip and go up to clip, and then you've got scene edit detection. I used the wrong name, but whatever. Press that, and what it will do is bring up this box. So it automatically detects scene changes in flattened footage, apply cuts at each detected cut point. You can create a bin of sub clips, and you can create markers if you want, but I tend to do just output it as apply a cut each point. I'm going to check it through anyway, so if it makes a mistake, then I can always edit that out. I'd recommend going and making yourself a hot drink at this point, because this thing does take a long time, especially if you've got like an hour-long episode, but it is so worth it, in my opinion, to make the edit a lot easier. So the next tip is also related to podcasts. Well, it's certainly why I use it a lot, especially when you've got 2 video tracks, 2 audio tracks, but you're only using 1 audio track. And that is unlink, which you can do, just right click in and press unlink, but that takes a long time. So what I tend to do is I've set up a shortcut for Command L, and that will just release that video clip from the audio clip. Nice and easy, I use that all the time. This next one is something I use across the board, commercial, whatever the edit is, and it's generally to just find the best cut. And I don't want to sit around listening to the whole thing again, because sometimes I'll sit down and interview someone for an hour, and I don't want to use an hour's time to watch it over first time around to make the initial cuts. So I use J, K and L. So on your keyboard, J, K and L, so L is go forward, and then press it again and fast forward, press it again, it will go even faster. K is to pause, and J is to rewind. I use that all the time. So generally I'll just hit L and then I'll go forward, and it will skip through that. Just press K to pause, If I miss something, just back with J. And the reason I use that all the time is just because it's so much quicker than spacebar, clicking back. Maybe I don't want to go back to the beginning of the clip. And so I would say just get in a real habit of keeping this right hand on JKL, and you can just bam, bam, bam. And to that point, if you find a point where you want to cut, if you press Command K, then you just place a nice big cut. And if you press Command Shift K, it will do a cut right through everything. So audio, all the tracks there, adjustment layers, anything you want. So that can be really, really handy to just keep your fingers in that area. JKL, Shift and Command buttons will save you loads of time in the edit. And the final one is just the Premiere Pro Automatic Sync Audio. Now, I've set up a keyboard shortcut for this because I use this absolutely all the time. And I'm always doing interviews where I'll have an audio source and I have a backup audio as well as the main camera audio. And so what I'll tend to do is press Shift and that track, and then I set it up for Command Z, and then it will synchronize clips. So I tend to just try track channel 1. If that doesn't work, then I'll change it to 2 or mix down. And one thing that will really, really help you in this process is, I'm sure you're already doing it, but do a big clap at every take so that there's a sync point in the audio and the visuals. So that's it. That's my 5 Premiere Pro kind of, not hacks, but things that I use all the time. Hopefully these either served as a reminder to you or taught you something new. If you like this sort of content, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and I will see you next week.